Market movement yesterday coming lower, and many saying that we're seeing a waning investor interest. Let's take a look at what you're making of market activity at the moment.
Hello, Alishia. Thanks for having me. Yeah, really, if you look at the market, you notice that performance has reduced significantly. If you look at volumes traded, average volumes traded over the weeks has actually declined, showing that investors have really reduced their interest right now. If we consider the foreign investors, for example, the reality is that the impact of Greece, that's what's happening in Europe right now, is obviously causing risk aversion for foreign investors, and most of them are really sitting back on the sidelines and watching to see what happens. And the local investors as well, right now, that's the portfolio managers, are more or less price sensitive right now, are cautious because they realize that there's that possibility that prices could still decline. So they are more conscious with their bids right now and more or less bidding down prices. And I think what we've noticed over the last few days is that even the foreign investors, initially, most of them were more or less the major offers, they're more or less selling, the major sellers. But right now, I've noticed that there's more of an inaction. So they are not necessarily buying, but at the same time, they are not selling as well, showing that they still believe in the market. And it's not so much of, it's not like they don't believe in our market, but the reality is that they are not just having really interest right now because of the global risk aversion in the market.
So what do you see giving this market fresh impetus for a sustained turnaround? Will we have to wait for a sustained turnaround on the global front?
In my view, I'm not sure. I don't think we really have to wait for a sustained turnaround in the global front, because 2 weeks ago we put out a note showing what we feel will be the major triggers for a bull run, next bull run. But the reality is that it's not so much of a near term. Most of those catalysts are more of longer term catalysts per se. And I think one major catalyst we see coming in would be the AMC, for example. We feel if that is signing too low, even though the fact is that there could be 1 or 2 days euphoria, you could see a market upswing for a few days when it's being signed. But the reality is that it's still going to take a long term. It's a not long-term process. There are lots of operational issues around it. So even after it's been signed into law, you still have to get the company set up. You'd have to assign the portfolio managers that would manage such assets. And also, 1 or 2 deals would have to take place before you can really see a major bull run as well. And the fact also is that the AMC would also help to facilitate the current reforms in the banking sector. Hopefully that would also help with M&As. 1 or 2 banks strong banks will acquire one of the weaker banks, because hopefully the AMC would have created some value. And also it will also help the foreign investors as well. The foreign banks that are still interested in the Nigerian banks, that would also help them to pick up one of the banks, because right now we haven't really seen so much happening, even though it was finally harmonized last week, and hopefully we'll expect that in the next few weeks it will be signed. But the reality is that we've been waiting for the AMC for a long time now. The plan was that it would be signed in December. That wasn't done. We're hoping that it will be done in the first quarter as well. It still hasn't been done yet. So I think when that is signed, the investors will see that there's actually hope and see that there's action is taking place right now. So the AMC is a major catalyst.
Yeah, well, we are going to be speaking to the central bank governor of Nigeria, Lamido Sanusi, a little later on today in Power Lunch. So hopefully he'll be able to give us some insight into the kind of development that we're seeing there, when we can anticipate this finally being signed into law, and just what kind of foreign activity we're anticipating ahead of that. You were going to add, though, Muyiwa, added to that. What else are you waiting for?
I think on the catalyst will also be some corporate actions. We are still expecting a few companies to release results, like Flour Mills, for example. We're waiting for its year-end results. The year ended March this year, and we'd expect the full year results to come out in the next few weeks or a month or so. We also expect Dangote Flour and Dangote Sugar to release results as well. For Dangote Flour, we have a positive outlook for the company. Dangote Sugar, we are not really so optimistic on the company, but we're hoping that the likes of Flour Mills and Dangote Flour would trigger an upside as well. Then I think apart from that, there are some reforms going on in the capital market. The SEC has come out to lay down some ground rules and some guidelines. We hope that if that comes into play as well. There will be renewed interest in the market, and that would keep the momentum going as well. And then we also feel if some critical sectors are listed in the market, that would also increase interest if the upstream oil and gas sector is listed, because if you consider the fact that these sectors are cash rich and there are high returns as well, so that would obviously increase investor interest in the market as well, and the telecom sector also would do that as well. So those are the catalysts we see, but the reality is that they are not short term, they are more or less longer term.
Well, we'll certainly be waiting out